and gentlemen, welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's Researchers Report. It is Blue Line Wednesday, the first we've had in quite a while, 1 or 2 days a month where we kind of let our hair down, have a little bit of fun with the Bigfoot subject. Just to be clear, you know, we're not making fun of the people that write these stories. By no means. Every one of these should be taken absolutely seriously. We just kind of have a little fun with ourselves, just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. And I don't know. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, you said it perfectly, Carrie. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
of
a
course
lot
I
of
did.
people take things too seriously sometimes, as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned. And until we find exactly what these things are, nobody's going to really know.
Yeah, well,
And,
the
have
thing
some fun.
is, it's a little uh how do you say, satirical. We'll say that. It's just a little satirical thing that we do here. With me, as always, producer and co-host of the report, Miss Daniela Aiolo. How are you, Daniela?
Oh, good, thank you. I was just going to say, we just laugh at each other, really, aren't we?
Yeah, we do. That's what we do.
Laugh at each other,
Try,
and that.
just try to be a little funny. That's all. And it just would not be Blue Line Wednesday without Jake and Adam, the BLB guys. How are you, gentlemen?
Happy to be here.
Good to see you. The last time we actually had one of these, Jake was by himself. Adam was laid up on the couch with corona SARS virus or whatever he had. And Jake pulled it off, man. He did good. And then I think we had the Wednesday we missed where Daniela had corona SARS and I was in New Mexico. So it is what it is. We try to do these every time. We really, really try hard not to miss them. We've got a few more pile in here before we get into the stories. Just want to remind everybody real quick up front that Daniela does have her new channel, Hidden Existence. Make sure you go and subscribe to that. Myself and Mark Zaski have a new Patreon show. It's called Mark and Carrie A to Z. You can find links to that in any one of the later shows that we've had. You got to go through the link. You can't just look it up. So it's very exclusive because I messed up royally. You have to click the link to find it, unfortunately, but it's growing. It's getting there. I think we've got 34, 35 Patreons at this point, but we're going to use that. Mark and I are putting together a show after the expedition. We're kind of going to forge Bigfoot Odyssey and Crypto Reality together and do a travel show. Plus, we're going to have a lot of equipment left over that we've purchased from the expedition that we're not giving away. So, you guys still in or what?
Well, it depends on what you mean when you say in. We're extremely excited. That's for sure.
Okay.
What do we have as far as being in? We have a lot of ideas, and there's some pretty hot ideas, and there's some pretty fresh ideas. And honestly, they're not quite hashed out. We don't have all the details yet, so we're not going to be able to disclose anything on this channel live right now, only because we don't want to do any false advertising, and that's it.
I understood. I don't want to give it away too much of exactly when we're going, but hey, it's only just next month. We're going down there, and I can tell you, all the teams are excited about it. We're getting together Sunday night. We're gonna have a big meeting about it, and we're gonna have another little live show here. Also, and again, right quick after this, Lady in the Woods is gonna have a special guest on her show. So you guys go to Lady in the Woods, going to be live. It's going to have an eyewitness on there that was abducted by a Sasquatch when he was a kid. So that should be very interesting. I'm going to try to make that. Yeah. Matter of fact, I am going to make it because I told her I'd be there. Like to do what I say I'm going to do. All right. Let me, something a little bit different. See, I'm learning this whole StreamYard deal. Sort of, kind of. And I'm going to be actually reading the stories off the screen instead of my phone. So that's something a little bit different. This first one we have here, this is called Pilgrim, Martin County, Kentucky. And it goes something like this. Let me get, hold on. I got to get prepared. Linda came and left Diet Coke, so I didn't go to the store and get any Gatorade. It says, as a young boy, we used to frequent my uncle's general store at Pilgrim, Kentucky in rural Martin County. We would gather around a pot-bellied stove and the older men would converse about politics, etc. One night, I specifically remember a story told by a Baptist minister who lived in one of the most remote areas of the county. His home was about 8 to 10 miles from where we lived. The house he lived in at the time was about 2 to 3 miles from the nearest neighbors. When the story took place, years before I was born, I don't know how far the next house would have been. The area was in southeastern Martin County, near the Pike County line, and is a very remote area. We know right where that is. A large tract of land and is owned by a large landholding company for its natural resources, coal, timber, natural gas, etc. Anyway, here's the story as it was told at the time, was sometime between 1979 and 1983. This man was a Baptist minister, as I remember, or at least he became one not long after. He said that when his oldest daughter was maybe 3 years old, he was probably 25 years at the time. Thus, this probably happened in 1956 or 57. He had just came into his home after doing some chores on his farm, feeding the hogs, I think. And the sun was beginning to set. His wife was in the kitchen preparing dinner, and the children were milling about. All of a sudden, the hairs on his neck began to raise, and he felt as if he were being watched. Soon after, his wife screamed and dropped a pan in the floor. She froze and looked out the kitchen window and exclaimed for him to look up the hill. He came to the window and looked up the side of the hill. What he saw there scared him to his very bones. About 75 to 150 feet up the hill was an animal that stood upright on two legs. He immediately told his wife to get the children and bring his gun, slowly. He stayed at the window watching this being. While he watched it, it stared back at him. He said it had brown fur all over its body except for its face, which looked like a man's, and as best he could see at that distance. He said its eyes looked red. He also said that it must have been 7 or 8 feet tall. At first, he admitted he thought it was a bear or something, but what happened next changed that thought altogether. As his wife returned to him, asking him what it could be, they both watched it walk to the tree stump he had recently cut. He had clear cut the side of the hill in that area. Once it reached the stump, it sat down on it. This is how he knew it wasn't a bear. I suppose bears could have been set on stumps, I guess. This man and his wife did not have a car at the time, so they stayed in front of the kitchen window. They said the thing watched them until it was too dark to see it. He said he stayed up all night there in the kitchen with his wife and children, watching it and waiting to see what it would do. He added that they were both scared to death, and several of the children were crying. I guess so. His only protection was a shotgun or deer rifle. I'm not sure which, he said. When dawn came the next morning, the thing had left and they didn't know where it went. He said that some people would claim that they didn't believe in Bigfoot, but the Baptist minister did because he had seen it and he would swear it exists. Baptist minister. Now, if it was a Catholic minister, no, I'm just kidding. No, that's a pretty good story. Not too bad. I mean, that seems like something that I would do. If I was to see something like that, I wouldn't want to. I mean, could you go and lay in your bed after that, Adam?
Depends on
it was still
financial situation.
Do what?
It would really depend on my financial situation.
Whether you would go to bed after seeing this thing just sitting on the stump and the sun goes down so you can't really see it anymore. I mean, would you feel comfortable going to bed, Daniela?
Well, no, but people do, don't they? And even people that are like in their tent, you know, when they say they can hear something walking around, then they go, and then I fell asleep.
Oh my goodness.
But you can imagine at some point you're going to fall asleep, even if you just laid there in terror. At some
Absolutely.
point, you're going to drop off.
Jake, could you go to bed, man? Would you stay there? What would you do?
Not at all. Yeah, I'd be camping out, not like taking my eyes off the creature.
Well, this was my thing. He tells his wife to go get his gun slowly. Yeah, I don't think so. Hurry in there and get the gun, baby. Bring me my gun. before the sun goes down, I can't see this thing anymore. That was
Beeline.
yeah. I don't know what that slowly was. Let's see what we got next. Let's do da-na-na. I had a William Rose story that we might get to possibly, but this is a 3-in-1, which I read over it, and it's pretty good. I think we can have some fun with this. It's called Lake Christie, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It's called My Story. I don't even know where to begin. To this day, even the thought of what I'm about to tell you makes the hair on my body stand up and brings tears to my eyes. Why tears? I don't know, but they are genuine. I live in Ontario, Canada, and this probably for this reason that I've never said anything until now. Why would living in Ontario be the reason you didn't say anything? Is that something about people from Ontario that just kind of keep a hush hush on weird stuff?
I don't know.
To my knowledge, almost all Sasquatch sightings are along the west coast on the continent and along the Rocky Mountains. I don't know how many sightings have been recorded this far east, but I know what I saw and heard on a few separate occasions. I used to work at a scout camp in northern Ontario. It is a very remote location, nearly an hour's drive from any civilization, and one of the only true scout camps in all of Canada. It is surrounded by lakes and large hills of dense forest on all sides. In their area, and there are a few cottages scattered here and there around the main lake the camp is situated on, Lake Christie, if I remember correctly. Although I live far away from this place, I worked there every summer from 1996 to 99. My first experience happened in 1996. I was 16 years old. As a counselor, every 2 weeks we were moved around and put in charge of different scout cub groups, I guess, so everyone gets a chance to work with the groups of all ages. On this particular rotation, I was working with one of the senior scout groups at the camp. As part of their last week there, they had to partake, what's the difference, in what was called a solo night. This is where each camper is driven by one of the assistant camp directors to a remote location and left for the night with the bare necessities to survive: a sleeping bag, rations for 1 day, and 2, count them 2, strike anywhere matches. It was on this particular night that I will never forget the sounds that I heard. Why just 2 matches?
To see how resilient the kids can be with little resources.
Yeah, man. Apparently, this is for the counselors. We forge ahead.
Gotta make them count.
Yeah. It was late at night in August. I'm not exactly certain of the time, and I was sleeping in my tent in the upper field, which is not exactly on the campgrounds, but up the dirt road quite a ways, and into the bush another 5 minutes walk. Altogether, probably a 20-minute walk from the main campground. Well, that's not very far away, is it? In the middle of my slumber, I was suddenly awakened by a loud, deep shrieking squeal sound that I had never heard before. I sat up in my tent, alarmed and uncertain of what I'd heard. I thought maybe it was one of my colleagues playing a trick on me. Colleagues? He's 16 and a camp counselor.
Yeah, colleague. Perfect.
It was colleagues playing a trick on me and the other 2 counselors who were camped up there alone for the night, or one of the other 2 for that matter. This being a camp full of staff who were well known for their pranks, I wouldn't have put it past them. Then I heard the noise again. It was even louder. At first, I thought it was a skunk being attacked by coyotes or something. I've heard that sound before and witnessed it. For those who don't know, skunks actually make a sort of shrieking squeal sound when being mauled to death. All right, then.
Not my bucket.
I saw it firsthand, but that is another story altogether. And this is his note here. He says, all Mustelidae, such as wolverines, weasels, badgers, civet cats, skunks, and otters, etc., emit a loud and groaning squeal or high-rolling shriek, often sounding like a woman in hopeless distress when caught by predators or in iron-set traps. The sound can be very loud and unnerving, even from a wounded rabbit. However, this sound was much deeper. Hey, that's we're learning a little something here.
Yeah.
Then, just as it had come, the sound stopped. I lay awake for the rest of the night, barely moving a muscle. When morning came and the sun was bright enough, I slowly came out of my tent and walked to the main campground for breakfast. A few minutes later, the other two counselors came down to the main camp and gave me a mysterious glance. One up and down glances, you know. Then one of them approached and asked me, "Was that you making all that racket last night? You scared poor Dave half to death." I just looked at him and said, "What racket?" with a stone cold look on my face. He gave me a knowing look and walked away. We never discussed it after that, and no one mentioned pulling a prank on me or the other two that night. Sooner or later, everyone owned up to their pranks, but no one even mentioned this one at all. It was not until months later that I realized what I might have heard. I was watching a documentary on TV about Bigfoot, and a crew hunting the evasive being had recorded what they thought were mating calls. How would you know it's a Bigfoot mating call? All right, I'm going to do this call, but watch out. The Bigfoot will come and hump your leg. What they thought were mating calls of the mysterious creature. Okay, whatever. When I heard the sounds of the recording from the TV, the memories of that night all came back to me. I quickly sat up, eyes glued to the screen, and the hair on my neck stood up. It sounded almost identical. Couldn't believe what I was hearing again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the end of that. A little anticlimactic, but moving on.
Yeah.
My next encounter was 2 years later, 1998, again in August. It was late. It was late August, and there were no more cubs for the remainder of the summer. So the designated cub field and its cabins were vacant. So not having much to do and no kids to watch, I decided to sleep in the cub field with the rest of the staff who had no children to take care of. Party time. The cub field is exactly that. It is a large clearing in the middle of a dense forest up yet another hill. It is probably 150 yards wide and 250 yards long, a football field, with a row of small cabins on either side. While I laid in bed in one of the cabins, I awoke a little after 12 a.m. I don't know why, but I was just suddenly awake. In the distance, I heard what I thought was howling, but I wasn't exactly sure. It sounded kind of muffled, but I was used to that sort of thing. I looked over at one of the other counselors staying in my cabin that night. He was fast asleep. Then, out of nowhere, I heard what I thought was someone running right by my cabin. The steps were heavy and quick. I shot out of bed, grabbing my flashlight, wondering who was running around at this hour, since everyone was supposed to be in bed hours ago. I swung the door of the cabin open and shone my flashlight in the field. I couldn't believe what I saw next. What do you think it was?
A bear?
I give you 3 guesses.
6-inch replica of the Empire State Building.
Nope.
Ghost.
Nope.
UFO?
Y'all all 3 missed it. About 40 feet diagonally from me, which would be diagonally from me, I lost my place. I saw a large, hairy creature walking across the field very swiftly. I stood there in shock, wondering what my eyes were seeing. This thing was absolutely enormous. At first, I thought it might be a bear, just like everybody else does. But then I realized something. It was walking upright, on 2 legs. Lord have mercy. Man, I got to quit looking away. It was very tall, bulky, and had dark brown hair covering its entire body. Then, as if noticing my flashlight, it stopped, turned, and looked at me. I could see the yellow reflection of its eyes on its face. The face seemed to be almost human, half ape, like having a little hair on its face, but the skin was almost the same color as its hair, a sort of light brownish color. It stood there, looking at me, and and I at it for what seemed like an eternity, but was probably more like a few seconds. Okay. I wanted to scream. I wanted to wake up the others, but I was frozen. I was caught up in the phenomena that I was seeing and couldn't move. That's when I noticed the smell. It was such a rancid odor. I had to plug my nose to save from puking. Then the creature turned and began to continue its swift movement across the field. And in a matter of seconds, it was across the field, walking between two cabins and into the dense forest. It was when it walked between the two cabins that I realized how tall this being was. I am 6 feet tall. Without standing on my tiptoes, I can reach approximately to the 7'4" mark. This thing, as it walked between the two cabins, was taller than where the top of one of the doors is. The cabins are elevated off the ground. From standing on the ground, I cannot touch the top of one of the doors. I'm a couple of inches shy of it. I checked the next day. I would estimate that this thing was probably around 8 feet tall or close to it. Again, I lay awake for the remainder of the night, my hatchet by my side. Hatchet. Yeah. That's better than nothing, I guess.
Knife to a gunfight.
Yeah. This was the scenario for many of the remaining nights of that summer before I went home. There were even sleepless nights afterwards while at home. I didn't think I was afraid of anything until that night. I can relate to that. Okay. I tried searching for tracks the next day, but to no avail. I couldn't find anything. Next day, I'm making sure he means to say the next day. The next day, I asked one of the head counselors if there were any large animals in the general area, such as bears, and he said no. Apparently, there were no bears for miles and miles. How can anybody possibly know that? I never mentioned anything about what I saw that night. I didn't want anyone to think I was crazy. I thought I would just wait and see if anyone else mentioned something before I said anything. No one did. They were doing the same thing he was doing if they did see it. And that was it for that one. My last encounter was the following and my final year, yet again in August. Somebody just needs to go up there. Look, just go up there in August, late August, with a flashlight and a hatchet, and you'll see a Bigfoot. I don't know why I went back after all the nightmares and sleepless nights from the previous summer. I heard that. I guess I thought it was once in a lifetime thing. This time, I had taken a rowboat out into the lake with a lady friend who I met that summer. Yes, there are female staff at scout camp.
What?
Okay, then. The main beach for the camp is a small inlet of the lake, almost like a sort of small bay. Before it opens up, as I was taking her on her romantic moonlight row, I heard what I thought was somebody whistling at me. I stopped rowing. She didn't hear it, but I knew I did. I looked around at the surrounding shoreline and didn't see anything. Next, I heard a splash, a little one, as if someone had thrown a rock into the water. I thought maybe another couple was somewhere along the shore. I grabbed my flashlight and she grabbed hers. Apparently they're out there in the damn dark. My goodness. And she grabbed hers. We scanned the shoreline from the safety of the boat to see if we could spot them. We were scanning in different sections. Then I saw them, those eyes, the yellow reflection. I focused on them, and they had an eerie resemblance to the ones I had seen the year before. Do you see them? I heard her ask, without looking away. I said, no. You? No, she replied. What is that? Referring to the eyes caught in my light. A deer? She asked. Yeah, probably, I said, but I knew better. Then the eyes were gone. And then we then agreed that there were probably another couple out there, and we didn't want to, this is what's on here, get busy in front of other people. So I turned the boat around and went back to camp. Daniela sent me this. You know she did that on purpose. They didn't want to get busy, thinking that there were another couple around there whose eyes shined yellow. All right. Yeah. I've kept these secrets with me for 5+ years now, so I guess he's 21. This is one thing I can honestly say I haven't told a single soul until now. I will never forget what I've seen and heard. Although there was no physical contact, I have been extremely traumatized from what I've experienced. Heard that.
I wonder if he ever got busy.
It doesn't say, but I mean, he was 16. I guess this was 2 years later, so he was 18 at this point. So free to try.
I hope he did.
Busy rowing to shore.
Well, they're rowing the boat out there in the dark. Apparently, they're shining their flashlight on the shoreline.
Well, from the safety of the boat, they were.
So what do you think? I mean, 3 experiences all in the same place, 3 different years. I mean, the guy sees a Sasquatch walking through the middle of this clearing, which is a little uncharacteristic, I would think, for from what you normally hear of Sasquatch behavior. You know, these things wanting to remain hidden and all. But I mean, it was late at night, and I don't know, something woke the guy up. He just woke up and he was awake. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Jake?
The hand of density. I mean, well, you know that other
Destiny. Yeah, we know what you mean. The hand of density. Excellent.
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah, well, you know, I got 2 more stories, and we're just cruising right along here. We've gotten through those here pretty quick.
We have one too. We do have one too.
Yeah.
Well, get after it. Let's see what you got.
It's not extremely long, and we only have one. So I was hoping that maybe I could start out at the beginning of it, and maybe Jake could pick up and read the second half.
Just bring it on. All right, that sounds like
yes.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Okay, this story is anonymous. It has no real location or any information about who sent it in.
I'm listening.
I was about 16 years old at the time, and I was doing some homework, like a good boy, when I began to feel restless and in need of a walk, and so I did. It was good. I ended up at my childhood school, Yellow Quill, when I found myself on the football/running track. It was very dark, as it was around 10 p.m., and quite windy. I was at the north end of the running track when I saw what appeared to be a very large man at the south end of the track. This thing was huge. Being young and stupid, I decided to go on a little adventure and get as close as possible to this man without being seen. As I snuck closer, I was absolutely dumbfounded at how big this man appeared to be. And so naturally, I began to get nervous. As I got closer, I noticed that he was standing on a small track between the east side of the school and a line of large trees, almost touching a baseball backstop that was there. I hid behind a small electrical transformer next to the gymnasium and took a good look at the man backlit from the streetlights of Crescent Road about 100 meters away. Actually, probably more now that I think about it. As I looked, I was quite surprised to realize this man appeared to be naked, and it was too cold for that. Then I noticed that he appeared to be covered with short hair.
That's a Bigfoot, dude.
It was at this point that I remembered that 2 boys on the Long Plains Indian Reserve had had a late night encounter with a large, hairy man just outside of their house on the reserve that past summer. I lost my nerve and snuck away around the north end of the school and then around the school and got onto Crescent Road and ran all the way to my home on 7th Street Southwest, where I had some toast. And now I'm going to pass it on over to Jake to finish up this encounter story.
All right.
So he lost his nerve by the reserve.
So.
He lost his nerve by the reserve, Jake said, and I think he probably did.
At no time did it threaten me. In fact, I don't even know that it saw me. It was massive. I really didn't get a good look at it because of the light and the sudden fright of the situation. It stood over 3/4 of the way up the side of the baseball backstop. It was standing near and easily was about half as wide as the small track it was standing on. I'm guessing that it was between 3 and 4 meters in height and probably a good meter in width. The sheer mass was unbelievable, and I couldn't even guess at a weight. He's no carny. Its body seemed to have a slight taper down to its waist, though I would probably call it a straight profile, due to the fact that it was backlit. I could clearly tell that it seemed to be covered in short hair, color unknown, that its head appeared to be pointed, whether from its skull or its hair, I don't know, and its hands, which were clearly visible, hung down to a point slowly below its knees. It was standing just like the man would, even swaying slightly from side to side. Other than that, it never moved. Despite the use of the word man, at no time could I tell whether it was a male or female. I told my brother, who laughed at me, and a couple of other people who said nasty things that made me tear up. Years later, I told my wife, who thought I was seeing things, which led to a season of depression and heavy drinking. This is why I like to keep it quiet and don't let it out that often. So I have seen since then, spent a lot of time hiking and camping in the woods in various remote places of Western Canada, and I've seen one or two things that I still scratch my head about, but I've never seen anything like I saw there behind the Yellow Quill School before or since, I swear.
Why do you people go back in the woods?
I mean,
What's wrong with you?
Multiple times.
I mean, it sounds like a Bigfoot to me. I mean, that's what all these things sound like. I guess that's why we're reading these stories, right?
Yeah. What do you think about being in such close proximity to a school and being there? I mean, is that normal? Or is
Man, I think they watch us. I think they watch us so closely that they can tell the slightest behavioral change in us. I mean, I think they know people. They get to watch them, watch a family, because you hear this, and I've heard this several times, and I made note of this in one of our previous shows, that people stay in the same place for 30 years and never think of anything. They don't have any kind of notable experience that would lead them to believe that there's anything there. Excuse me. All of a sudden, they get a glimpse or they hear something that changes their mind, and then now the belief starts to creep in. And I think they watch us close enough to where that once this happens to you, because it's not a part of your paradigm, it's not a part of your conscious or subconscious. So now it is a part of your conscious and your subconscious. So I think your behavior changes. And now maybe when you're outside, you're looking around a little more. I think they notice this. And I think at this point is when they start, because you'll hear it. We heard it just the other day. Lived there for 20 years. All of a sudden I see this thing. Now my house is getting slapped. Rocks are getting thrown at me at the Gotros. The same thing's happening with them. Once they figured out what was going on, that's when the action started. To me, it's almost like this it's almost like this OCD thing where they have to stay hidden, but once they get found out, the whole game changes. But I think you don't have to go deep in the woods to find these creatures. They're going to be on the fringes watching us. And that's just what I think. I could be 1,000% wrong, but you have this case right here and so many others where people see them in parks where a lot of people frequent. We're going to do expedition in a place where a lot of people frequent, the main areas and hiking trails. We're going to go off into the deep stuff. But these things are there. It's crazy. You should see some of the images that Zasky's got here recently. They'll make you stop and think. Big boys. But that's just what I think. I could be
a lot of people have encountered stories like that where they're, going to the backside of an old diner and getting into the dumpster, and there's a truck stop right there, and there's a lot of people around, but they're just right there, like you said, on the fringes of where our society kind of meets, kind of maybe a place for them to get close enough to see what we're doing right there.
Maybe it's a game of chicken where they're seeing how long they can go before they do ultimately get seen by their maybe host person or the person.
You know, it could be exactly that. It could be exactly that. A game. As you think of something that apparently has sentient nature, human type intelligence, emotional intelligence, I think games would be an important thing. There are a lot of great apes that play with sticks and each other.
The curiosity about an athletic field too. I mean, that could have been like a young individual who was like always seeing these games and activities happening and was like, why can't I be a part of something? What are they doing? Like, what, this looks cool. Let me go check it out. I want to play.
You also have to think, if it's an intelligent creature, it needs to stimulate its mind. And if it means working out, like lots of animals, clever animals, working out how to get something stimulates the mind. Maybe they do things.
It could be something more ominous than that, like watching children, waiting for one of them to slip up, go into the bushes at the wrong time, and the kid disappears. You never see him again. I hark to the 3-year-old kid in North Carolina that got taken care of by the bear for 3 nights.
It's a nice bear, honestly. A bear that nice.
Very kind bear. Who was that? Was that George Workman that said that was? No, it wasn't. It was
Escape Circus Bear, maybe.
Escape Circus Bear. Take this kid in. Hey, come on over here. Check this out.
We just had him on.
You got a cell phone?
The author. What was his name?
Denver Michaels.
No, before him.
Ronald Murphy.
Yes, him, Ron.
Thanks, Daniela.
So whatever that was.
Point.
She's the producer. She's supposed to know these things. So whatever that was had hands, and thumbs to take care of a kid. Not to mention it being the end of January when they're coming out of hibernation. A 3-year-old boy, that's dinner. You hate to say that, but I mean, it's true.
Female could have been a female with a maternal, side to it, or broody or whatever. You never know.
Absolutely.
Or maybe they take a child to raise as their own and teach it their ways, and they only teach one at a time. One white man. I don't know. Could be. Who knows?
What a nightmare to think about that. I mean, not that you'd want one to, take your kid at all, or to kill it.
That's awful.
To think that one's raising your kid to be a feral.
A Bigfoot prophet.
Tarzan
comes to mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, this one here. We'll do this one, even though we've got plenty of time. I might throw another one in here too. This is Yacolt Clark County, Washington. It's called the Yacolt sighting. This one's pretty good. Excuse me. The report is dated mid-June 1989, about 8:30 p.m. Clear sky, sunshine, and pleasant temperature. Just south of the small community of Yacolt, Washington. Yacolt lies 21 miles northeast of Vancouver, 26 miles southwest of Mount St. Helens, 7 miles south of Lake Merwin and the Yell River. We know exactly where that is, don't we? Miss Brenda G., a young mother, German, recently moved to Washington.
Oh, nothing's happened.
Brenda G., a young mother, German, recently moved to what?
Reptilian.
You froze.
Oh, I froze?
You froze for a bit, and then when you came back, you was like talking at 100 miles an hour as it was catching up. So,
oh, yeah. Max Headroom. I'll do this again.
Yeah.
Miss Brenda G., a young mother, German, for some reason that matters, recently moved to Washington from the U.S. South. Doing dishes, her 15-and-a-half-year-old son, Nick, you got to throw that half in there. I'm 15 and a half. A short but muscular and macho kid doing homework. Her 5-year-old son, John, playing outside on the lawn 2 dogs, 1 pony. This is a 1 pony show here. The father worked away from home at the time of the event. The area contained a 2-story home on a country road, surrounded by minimal lawns, bordered by deep, steeply rising forest across the road to the west. Behind the house, abandoned fields, overgrown with brush and wildflowers, mixed with groves and evergreens. Several hundred feet separated neighboring houses. Brenda, washing the dinner dishes, looking out over the backyard, past the horse corral with its pony and off into the distance, notices that suddenly the horse becomes unruly. Is it a horse or a pony?
Unruly.
I know. Who wrote this? Sir, your horse is being quite unruly. Please make your horse ruly. All right. She calls to Nick. Nick, there's some kids out there trying to tease the horse, and steps out the kitchen back door with a BB gun in her hand for good measure. That's what you want to get after the neighborhood kids, a BB gun.
Beer.
Nick races out past her and some distance down the overgrown meadow along the stand of trees, where he comes abruptly face to face with a Sasquatch standing on the indistinct footpath. Nick comes to such a screeching halt that he slides on moist vegetation and sits down on the ground. For reassurance, he throws a backward look to his mother, who, however, has returned to the house. Forget you, boy. I'm going back in. That's a Bigfoot. When he looks back at the Sasquatch, it is already walking with long strides across the brush and wildflower-covered meadow, lifting up its feet more than people do. I understand what that means. As Nick scrambles to get up, a branch snaps and the Sasquatch turns to look at him with big eyes. Nick runs back into the house, tearing the screen door off its hinges in the process, to tell his mother about the creature and to change into some new underwear. No, it says to change into some boots from the slippery loafers. So apparently he's going back. Another genius. Then he charges back out, taking a large army bayonet from over the fireplace for protection, with Brenda close behind. Their 2 dogs have retreated under the house. At least not everybody is ridiculously dumb. The dogs are smart. Sorry, guys. I'm not making fun of these people, I swear. But who does that? As he runs down through the same meadow, the Sasquatch is still walking about there. Retreats downhill, crosses a small creek, and stops on the far bank of the creek under a fir tree to face his pursuers. His entire body bathed in sunlight and visible from head to toe. Nick stops about 30 feet away. His mother stands about 15 feet behind him. The silent tableau holds its place for what seems like an extraordinarily long time, perhaps 5 minutes, although Nick's and Brenda's estimates, colored by their adrenaline of their encounter, range as high as 20 minutes. Whatever the length of time passes, it gives Nick and Brenda the opportunity for detailed inspection of the Sasquatch. They describe it as being 6'6" tall, as measured against a branch that barely touched the crown of its head, covered with black, gray fur, golden brown patches on its shoulders and chest in it. The head is notable for its pronounced brow ridge and deep-set eyes that are less open than human eyes, facing into the sun. It has a wide and stumpy nose, the hairiness under the nose getting thicker, hiding the jawline. It has impressively wide shoulders. Man, they were this wide. Nick holds his hands far apart in retelling. Heavy arms, wide hands with thick fingers and dark brown and rough palms. Its nails have a deep yellow nicotine-stained color. The Bigfoot be out there burning it up.
Make them tobacco plants.
I mean, how else do they get yellow nicotine-stained color? Come on. They're obviously rolling their own. Its torso narrows somewhat to the waist. No genitals are visible in the fur, and it has sort of a small butt for a man, according to Brenda's astute assessment. She was looking. Both observers perceived the creature as a male. Neither of them detected any smell. In due time, Brenda gets the willies and anxiously screams at Nick to break it off. Break it off, Nick. That makes sense. Thereupon, the Sasquatch screams, takes a step across the creek toward them while holding in its arms out to the side about 45 degrees as if to herd them on their way. They run halfway up the hill to the house. Then Nick feels compelled to give it one more look. He is rewarded by a repeat of the faintly aggressive display. They continue to the house, Brenda scooping up John from the lawn, who says, "Mommy, there's a big monkey in our backyard." Brenda climbs up on the low garage roof and watches the Sasquatch walk away. The dogs stay under the house for a safe 2 hours and will not let themselves be coaxed out, even by having a steak waved at them. Who gives their dogs a steak? Man, lucky dogs. The horse/pony
Your family
has substantial abrasions on its fetlocks. What are fetlocks? From having gotten snagged on a rope in its panic. What are fetlocks? Is that this thing here?
I'm not sure, actually.
Fetlock.
Somebody
I'm going to name my first
fetlocks are.
Fetlock, actually.
My fetlocks are hurting right now, too. Brenda phoned 911, but hung up before the call was answered. After some time, she phoned back after all and reported the encounter, which is duly noted in the police blotter, but not acted upon. No crap, huh? The police didn't act on that. Only an alert report from the Vancouver Columbian, which I assume is a newspaper, catches the brief note and looks up the family. The reporter and several Sasquatch investigators canvass the surroundings and neighborhood and come up with a few additional items. The reporter brought me some hair to look at, which I did. Hair was not Sasquatch. He sees one Sasquatch from 30 feet away, and now he's an expert. That's not Sasquatch hair. Sorry.
Kind of stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah. Now you know. That's not Bigfoot hair. Kidding me? 2 sets of footprints are found, 12 inches long and 6 inches long, whereupon Brenda puts a roast chicken into a high tree fork since she wants to see the baby. There's 6-inch footprints. There's a Bigfoot baby. I want to see it. Let me get a roast chicken for this baby. Oh, my goodness. An adjacent unused meadow has a large depressed area of grass in it. A patch of thimbleberries is found on the steep hillside to have been stripped off its fruit and leaves, leaving bare canes behind. The adjacent farmer's cows, which had just been turned loose for the summer into a higher, lush meadow, come rushing back into the barn that night, something the farmer had never observed before. After about a week, little John commented casually, "The monkey isn't coming to play anymore." Very good. That was good. I'm sorry. That was really good. I mean, that we could have read that several different ways. Obviously, I needed to be stupid about it. But I mean, so many things in there that I would not have done. You know, apparently this 15-and-a-half-year-old kid,
English major.
you know, he's trying to run after somebody messing with the horse. You know, he wants to be, you know, macho kid, you know, Billy Bad Booty, and rushes past, and all of a sudden here's this beast. He slams on brakes, slides into the grass, sits down on his butt, looks back, mom's going in the house. He gets up, runs back in behind her, tears the screen door off. For what? To put on some boots, to go back again. That just gets me. I'm sorry. That gets me. What do you think, man? Well,
Young kid, though, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, still.
You know, like, well,
You're talking about something that you don't know anything about. Taking your life into your own hands.
curiosity.
But you're not thinking that. You're thinking it's going to be the next Harry and the Hendersons, and you're the John Lithgow character who's going to go out and be friends with it. But
fetlocks is the horse's ankles. Okay,
we have a farrier in the chat.
Fred Muppet is my friend from Lancaster.
Oh, really?
There's 2 of us up at 10 to 2 in the morning.
Thanks for staying up with us, Fred. Okay, so apparently fetlocks are horses' ankles. and they had abrasions on them from some rope, I think. But I thought it was a pretty good story. It was kind of funny when I read through it the first time, and it's just so many things in there. The way it's written, it's obviously not written by any of them. It's told, secondhand. But do you do any of those things, Adam?
Well, I don't. Maybe sometimes.
A bayonet? You grab a bayonet from over, a World War II bayonet.
Grab a bayonet, maybe my machete.
At that age, everything seems like
Maybe so. Well, what gets me is,
Yeah.
once he ran back in and the mother went back out, they left little 5-year-old John sitting in the front yard still, because she didn't pick him up till they came back after looking at him the second time. Mother instinct, man. Do you think that she would have picked that little guy up before then and secured him?
Seems like it.
You would think so, but she was so frightened that the only thing she could do was get the heck out of there. I don't know I don't know how she could.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
Anybody's going to react to one of these encounters.
The whole thing that gets me is the kid running and pulling the Scooby-Doo, stopping, sliding on his feet. I could see that, seeing this creature there and stopping real quick, landing on his butt, getting up and hauling it back to getting his slippers off and putting his boots on. Very good. Let's see, Carrie, do you think the half footprints we found are them crawling? You see this footprint right here? This is Carl Gotro. You see this footprint right here? And that's definitely what that is. That's right there on this back patio where the dog food had been missing. It's possible, Carl, but you see, this is oil, that oily stuff there. I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Might be able to get I might have the picture somewhere.
But that's oil there. It stayed there for like a month after this. But the next one was very faint. And this is what I think when it comes to Carl Gotro and them. I think these creatures only come into the backyard when it's raining. Because who goes out when it's raining? Who even looks outside when it's raining, especially at night? And it rains all the time in Lafayette, Louisiana. It's a constant thing. And I think that thing stood there because it was right by the little corner where the door is, and stood there and waited to see if someone was going to come out. And I think because it stood there for a long time, it left this print. That's why the next one was faint. So maybe it was raining. Yeah. I mean, you can see big toe, the other toes. That's a 17-inch print. And then Carl goes back to the yard and finds 5 more. It pulls the leaves out of them, takes pictures of them. He even cast one of them. So they have a lot of crazy, weird things going on there. They even caught them peeking up over the fence. That fence is 6 foot, but it's 2 inches off the ground. So you're looking at 6'2". I had to tiptoe just to barely be able to see over the fence. And you see this apex head pop up over the fence, like this far, just like pop up and then back down a couple of times. There were several things, a lot of weird noises that went on there. But another one of those cases where once these creatures figure out that Carl and Rachel know, now they know they're aware, stuff starts getting thrown at the house. Loud noises and yells are going on. They stopped coming to get the dog food. Apparently they took the dog food and put it inside, but it was in a bin. And I think the only reason they realized it was gone is because they were buying Blue Buffalo at $65 a bag, and they were using like 100 pounds a week. So you're talking about $130 worth of dog food in a week. You kind of tend to notice it, but they pour it all into a bin. You wouldn't really notice it because you're just taking out a scoop at a time. And then he don't know when Rachel's feeding them. Rachel doesn't know when he's feeding them. I suppose that could be the case. I think that was what it was anyway. But he noticed it, and man, just we need to get back down there to do a follow-up with them because they've gotten so much good stuff since we were there. Really, really good stuff.
They're going to be on Hidden Existence on Friday. So
nice.
And now
I didn't get to watch the last episode. I've been kind of
really should.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I think I might watch that tonight
Yeah.
before I go to bed. But right after this, you guys, in about 5 minutes, Lady in the Woods is going to have a guest on her show. If you're not subscribed to Lady in the Woods, that's Miss D Sims. Go subscribe to that right now. But she's going to have a guest on there that's excuse me, I'm losing my dip. That was abducted by a Sasquatch when he was just a kid.
Yeah.
Here's
But
a
I
question.
got a lady on Sunday who was abducted by Sasquatch when she was a kid. So it's interesting.
Dang.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And of course, 9 o'clock p.m. every night. That's 9 o'clock p.m. Central, 7 Pacific. Paranormal Portal. Our guys, Brent and Don. I've been going to bed early because I've been having to get up early. I've been missing it, but I try to make it when I can. This is Philip Soares. I hope I'm saying that right. Carrie, do you think Bigfoot wants to establish a connection, but they feel our fear and back off? Could be just that simple, because they know we're afraid of them. And I imagine once guns came along, it became a real factor.
Mhm.
What happens when we're afraid of something? We want to shoot it, kill it, let it not be a threat to us anymore. So I think it's possibly just that simple, Philip, that maybe they wanted to have contact with us, and maybe they did have more interaction with us back in the day, which I think was a Wednesday. A long time ago, before guns came along, and then I think they scare us. It scared me when I saw one. I was zero emotionally prepared to see what I saw, and it affected me for a very long time.
Mhm.
I think it's important. It's important for people to be aware, whether you believe or not. Just consider it. Whenever you're in the woods, you hear that scream, that loud knock, that weird thing in the bushes. I used to hear thumps on the ground, and I would think, wow, that rabbit is really getting after it, and there's just no possible way it could be a rabbit. It was like, I probably heard it once a week, maybe once every other week. I would hear this loud boom on the ground, like a large rock hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And rabbits will thump on the ground, but they usually, like that. So there were so many things that should have clued me in to what was going on, and I just ignored it. What we got now? Any more?
As most people do.
Anybody got a question? We're not going to do another story, so we only got a couple of minutes left. So what's the BLB got going on? What's happening? Anything at all?
Big stuff is happening. Like we said before, we don't want to give away too many details, but we're working on a new project, Carrie.
Okay.
BLB the movie.
What?
Wow.
Are you serious?
That's as much. We can't say any more than that.
Oh. How many standards do you guys have? You gonna tease us like that?
That's well.
We got to try to keep up with y'all.
That's right.
We're just
With us, we haven't put out an Odyssey since Sisters of the Moon. Of course, we kind of knew it was going to be difficult to get one out planning this expedition, which is coming up. The guys are getting excited. We have a big meeting Sunday with all the guys, and just talking to Mark Zasky and some of the things we have planned. You can't plan a whole lot. You really can't plan the whole week. It's going to be one of those things that is kind of what we're going to do in the moment type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there are several places around where we're going, and Mark plans on taking us to a couple of places outside of where we're going, where he knows they are. They've seen them. They've experienced them there. Actually caught them on thermal there a couple times. The whole thing with the thermal drone fell through. I can't get a hold of the guy. He won't call me back. So I just bought another one. It was about $1,500 more than I planned on spending, but I got it. It's the Mavic Pro. That's 4K camera and thermal. It's all in one. So it's not like an attachment I have to put on. And those Mavics they're really cool. It's a nice drone. It's $5,000 drone.
Yeah, we got that.
You got one?
Yeah.
The Mavic?
Yeah, Mavic Pro.
Yeah.
Thermal, but it's the Mavic Pro.
This is the one with the thermal on it. And what I like about it is you can change the look, which is essentially changing the ambient temperature. Just So it works pretty good in the daytime also. So we're excited about the trip. Clay has just rented a really, really good, or he's reserved to rent a really good thermal. So we're gonna have some good equipment on the ground. We've got all the body cams are in, all the batteries are in. I still got a few more little things to get, like cords and just small stuff. Still gotta get some snake boots. But hey, we're doing it.
Now, let me ask you: are you guys getting like what's the general vibe? Are you getting like inside? I can imagine getting a little more maybe nervous or excited.
Yeah, man, I'm scared to death.
About it. What's going on with you? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm scared. I am. I'm worried about it. I'm just worried about how I'm going to act when I get out there. I did this a certain way for a reason, so I couldn't back out. I can't. And I'm really big on doing what I say I'm going to do. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to go to every length I can to make sure it's done. So once I told myself that you're going to do this, Carrie, you're going to get out there, you're going to film these guys doing this, and who knows what I'm going to do. I may end up going in the bushes to try to catch one of these things with these guys. Who knows? But I made sure and kind of backed myself into a corner where I couldn't get out of it. Now I've got all these people are relying on me to get this done. And so we're doing it, and I'm going to put it together as fast as I can and get it out for you guys to see. I think we're going to get some really good evidence. Whether we catch them like we want to, moving is the key. We're going to catch them. We're going to have there's going to be some sights and sounds and things that you guys are going to be able to experience what we're experiencing while we're out there. But all the guys, everybody I talked to, every one of the guys are excited about it. They're most of them are just they're thankful for the experience. I mean, I told them, I said, y'all don't need me to do this. You guys can just go out and do it yourselves, and a lot of them do. But apparently, I think it's going to be the way we're going to do it. The camaraderie involved in it, and these guys having each other's back and going into these deep, dark places at night after this creature that can really hurt you if it wants to.
I'm excited to see that half of the story, to not just the finding, getting that, some evidence too, but the story that's going to be told with you guys living that week out there.
Yeah, that's important. That's important, and that's going to be my charge, is telling everybody's story and trying to get it in linear fashion where it actually makes sense to everybody else. So I think it's going to be good, but we'll see. Make sure you guys go and subscribe to Blueline Bigfoot. They have their season 2 is out now. They're putting out episodes. Go and subscribe to Hidden Existence. And hey, if you want to help support myself and Mark Zasky, we just put our 3rd show out on the podcast, Mark and Carrie A to Z. You can only join through the link. It's on Patreon. It's $2.99 a month, about as much as a cup of a small coffee at Starbucks. And we were going to do $1 an episode, but we're putting out so many episodes, it was going to end up costing people more than $3 a month. So we just made it a flat $3, $2.99. And we appreciate you guys that joined us. We are using that. Like I said before, Mark and I are putting Bigfoot Odyssey and Crypto Reality together for a travel show that we're going to be doing after the expedition. So 2020, big year for Bigfoot, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be a small part of it.
Yeah, we're extremely happy to be part of everything you guys are doing, and we're looking forward to the 2020 spring season when we can get out there in the field and start making things happen with the projects we got going, and talking to a lot of people locally. They're expressing a lot of interest, and they're showing up kind of out of the woodwork with encounter stories for us locally, and people are starting to
loosen up a little bit.
Yeah, loosen up a little bit. It's really exciting.
That's good. That's great to hear. And me personally, I'm really apprehensive about going. I'm nervous about it. I think about it all the time. What excites me is the equipment that we're going to have to take with us and the caliber of guys we have around us. I mean, just having Mark Zasky there, kind of leading the charge and directing, the search itself. Obviously we have team leaders, but just it's going to be good. You guys are going to really enjoy it. What we've got planned, and you guys are going to like it, I think. But hey, it's been a great show. Daniela, awesome as always. Thank you so much for what you do. This Saturday, who we got? Is Kim coming on?
Not this Saturday. Kim's coming on next Saturday. This Saturday, we've got the Bigfoot Ops guys, who are Chuck and Ben. And they're researching Yeah, good, nice guys. So
got some researchers on next Saturday, 7:00 p.m. Central. You guys will be here for it. Chuck and Ben, Bigfoot Ops guys. Y'all have a great night. Thank you again, BLB. Y'all be good. Be good, please.
Can't be good at it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Always.
Good night.
Y'all.